Today, I tackle the question of whether the Greater Air Elemental is broken. We're gonna have 4 battle reports featuring them, and I'll give my conclusion and tips as we go along. Stay tuned.
Hello there! I like to watch battle reports to get better at games. So I started making short, summarized battle reports that focus on learning points. So welcome to my channel, Newbie Dice. Do like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon if you enjoy my videos. Do consider speeding up this video with the YouTube settings to consume this content or other YouTube content in a fraction of the time.
Alright, so we have heard a lot about the Greater Air Elementals and how they are broken, especially at 180 points. They have, of course, Surge, Nimble, Flying, Speed 10, 10 attacks, which is quite a lot for a 180 point monster, hitting on trees too, and then there's a Crushing 1 and Thunderous 1. And if I'm not wrong, in the more recent updates, Clash 22, they got a +1 Crushing. Used to be they only have Thunderous 1, so it's pretty strong. And many people were surprised that they weren't nerfed in the new Big Red Book, so a lot of people are expecting them to be nerfed. So how strong are they? So I'm gonna answer this question in this video, hopefully, and of course these are my opinions. So first up, I asked some players in the community to say, I just blasted and say, hey, does anyone have an example of a Greater Air Elemental list? Because I haven't seen them in like tournaments, at least from my shallow research. I haven't seen any example lists that are being run in tournaments. So, but nobody replied me, so I came up with my own. So with that, you know, I have my own list building experience. So I'm also exploring this army because I'm still looking for a new army to play for 2023, and so my exploration and research landed on the Greater Air Elementals. So without further ado, let's look into it. So this is a list that I came up with, and I'm playing a 2000 point game first. There's a 2300 point games later on, but this current one is 2000 points. So I realized that the Greater Air Elemental, they're nimble, flying speed 10, right? But they are scrambling, so that means they only fly 10 inches. So they don't, if you want to search into enemies, you only move 10 inches. So with that, right, you have to lure the opponent closer to you. So to effectively do that, I came up with an Earth Elemental wall. So 2 regiments and a horde. So it forces opponent to crash into my wall of Earth Elementals, and then my Greater Airs will jump in and surge into flanks. Okay, so upon building the list, then I decided to add a horde of Fire Elementals because they'll be good for cleaning up at the late game. Okay, when there's not a lot of things left, there's still Fire Elementals are decent. They do hit on force, but they with crushing and vicious melee, so that kind of increases their combat prowess quite a bit. And of course, Fearless does help. Okay, and notice that I put a regiment of Hunters of the Wild. Okay, because I realized that, you know, if I want people to crash into me and then I have to wait for the Earth Elementals to move up 5 inches at a time, that is very slow. So with a unit of Verdant Forces, they do have Scout, so that my Air Elementals can move up screen behind the Hunters of the Wild to encourage that engagement earlier. And I'm not just waiting for my Earth Elementals to move up. And of course, carries is really good with that 8 attacks that's now permanently there. Again, it's only 80 points, this fellow, right? With such a high nerf, 12, 14, 8 shooting attacks. Even if it's just normal shooting attacks, this is a great package with Inspiring, right? But he has this Blinding Light special rule, which is when you deal damage with your shooting attack, they become disordered. That means flying is gone, Thunderous is gone. Okay, and they will not be able to shoot because disordered, you can't shoot. Alright, and you can even purchase Surge for 30 points. So this is my backup Surge caster because the Druid, the Glade Walker Druid, and this is the standard package that we have, and which is adding the Ring of Harmony that allows me to cast twice if I'm targeting elementals. Crown of Wizard King is to increase my friendly spell range by 6. So my heal and surge are range 18. Okay, so this allows me to stand on the center of the board and surge into forces on the left and right quite far. Alright. Unicorn, because I like to have this individual disruptor. Okay, and I realized Scorch Wings were very, very good value, so I just threw in 2 hordes of Scorch Wings. And they can do a lot of things for 200 points, right? They shoot decently well, they fight decently well, they are speed 10 nimble, so you are forcing the opponents to deal with them coming to your flanks, so they have to protect against the Scorch Wings flank. So just by throwing these 2 in, it added a lot of speed threat to my otherwise slow army. Okay, slow minus the air elemental, greater air, right? Okay, it adds a lot of speed threat, it adds makes the opponent need to guard flanks, it adds some shooting, so just a lot of things that 2 Scorch Wings added. And of course the only issue is they are not unlocking and they are irregular. Okay, and if I'm not wrong, I needed the hunters to unlock as well, but I'm not. 2 hordes, okay, so that unlocks my 2 monsters, 2 heroes. I have a 3rd hero, so the Hunters of the Wild unlocks the 3rd hero. Okay, the Earth Elemental regiments do not unlock. So 12 units at 2000 points is on the average side. Unit strength I think is pretty average as well. I do have 3 sort of expensive individuals here. So I'm fighting my opponent who's a shoot. Is this a shooty? Yeah, this is a shooty Salamanders list. Okay, so let me see if it's correct. Just to make sure this is the list. Yep, I believe this is correct. Okay, so here we go. 2 Corsairs, Tyrants, Scorchwing Hordes as well. Okay, Rhino Cav Horde for cleanup, right? And Macleod Phoenix, Baby Phoenix, Firebrand, Battle Cap on Rhinosaur with Inspiring, and Rakawas. So this is how we deploy, and of course this is my Hunters of the Wild scouting upwards. So pillage, so I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've decided I just need to win this tree. So I deploy heavier on the center and left. The right still has a decent Earth Elemental and Phoenix and carries to help cause trouble over here. Okay, so I moved up. He won the initiative, but let me go first because he has a lot of 18-inch shooting. So he wants my stuff to come closer so that he can shoot. 18 plus 5-inch of the Corsair is 23. The Macleod is also 24-inch range. And of course, these Hunters of the Wild, if he were to go first, they couldn't see the Hunters of the Wild to shoot. So he let me go first. Fine, I shuffle up. Scorch Wings and Unicorn dealt damage to the Battle Cap. Okay, I think that's about it. These Scorch Wings are staying back because he doesn't want to get shot by all this shooting battery over here. His shooting is definitely heavier on this side, on the right. Okay, so that's me moving up. Then he moved up. He shot at the Earth Elementals, mainly the regiment as well. Okay, because this has no cover. The Fire Elementals is screened behind to get cover. Okay, so 4 wounds on defense 6. Respectable, but the Great Walker Druid can heal. So this is where I set up my trap. So I push my Greater Air behind here to do a counter punch. Okay, this Greater Air also moved up. Okay, so at this point he crashed in. Alright, this Scorch Wings are still staying back because this is still a lot of fire battery. I think it came up to shoot at his Scorch Wings. Okay, dealt 4 damage. Okay, I think Carrie shot at them also, but there's cover. Okay. Yeah, pretty sure. So he moved back because he can't shoot due to the disordering, right? Okay, so let's look at the left. He charged the Battle Cap here, wavering these Scorch Wings. Okay, and then he had to charge 2 units into the Hunter of the Wild Regiment just to make sure it's dead. Okay, I'm not sure if the Rhino Cav is enough to take it out. It's probably enough, right? Crush 1, Thunder 2. But nonetheless, he charged both in. I think it's a positional decision as well. Okay, so this is how the Greater Air Elemental works. forces your big units to charge in. Maybe you kill one unit, but your 2 units are now sort of exposed. Okay? If you face the front against the greater air, it's going to flank search into your flanks, and this is exactly where I'm going to do it. I'm going to place this one over here and flank search, and then I'm going to place this one over here and flank search while the Earth Elemental charge the front. So Earth Elementals in front and this greater air in the flank is definitely very likely a kill. Alright, and so of course the Scorch Wings are softer targets, but I still might risk not killing them, and so I think I sent the Unicorn in to add that 3 attacks. Okay, in terms of his shooting, yeah, he dealt quite a bit here, but did he kill anything? Nope, he just wavered the Scorch Wings, which is pretty much a shame. Okay, he charged the Firebrand into these Earth Elementals to hopefully jam things up, because now my Fire Elemental is stuck behind. Okay, I've positioned it too close so it couldn't pivot out and charge at stuff. So that is my mistake there. In an effort to get screen, I positioned my things too close. Okay, so Firebrand charged in to get this Elemental stuck because he can't see over the height tree over here. Okay, so exactly over here. Oh, okay, so I did not charge my Unicorn in. You know why? Because I searched in, right, I could Lightning Bolt first. So charging in is 3 attacks with Blade of Slashing. Lightning Bolting is 5 attacks with just crushing 1 instead of crushing 2, crushing 1, thunder 1 from the charge. So I think I stayed here to Lightning Bolt also so that I can continue to inspire the Scorch Wings, because what it does now is it's gonna back up, and yeah, he got wavered, so he's gonna back up, so he's gonna charge hindered again. Hopefully, if he roll badly, I will be able to survive this. So that was why I Lightning Bolted instead of charging in. Okay, still the Lightning Bolt helped to contribute damage, right? And then yeah, this one is dead. This one is stuck here, so I have to back up my Fire Elemental so that I can turn out next turn. Okay, Scorch Wings were wavered, so I think I continue to pull them back right from here to here. And my carries shot and wavered the Scorch Wings this time, so it's already on 4 wounds. Dealt rolled pretty well, dealt another 3 wounds and wavered it. And so you see, carries 8 attacks is really very strong. Okay, so my opponent over here, he charged hindered into the Scorch Wings, this time not killing it, not wavering it even. Okay, Phoenix charged into the greater air, hoping to pin it down, but it dealt 0 damage. The Phoenix only has 3 attacks now, so there's a good chance that it does not do damage, and that's what happened here. So that's terrible news for my opponent. And then there's a double charge here. So these are Corsairs, so they're not fantastic fighters, right? So I think that 10 or 12 attacks with Crush 1 hitting on 4, so that's like 4 wounds from them. The Firebrand should do a few more, but it is charging hindered. So end up, I only took 4 wounds, and even if I took a few more, still pretty healthy, not in very high chance of being wavered. Okay, so how did this? Okay, so Rakawas charged the Earth Elementals in the flank because they were stuck in with Firebrand the previous turn. So Rakawas charged it in the flank, killed it, and faced the Fire Elementals. Okay, rest of the stuff shuffled up, and finally some shots here killed off the Scorch Wings that I have. Okay, so in return, what happened over here is my greater air wasn't disordered, so it turned around and moved 10 inches here. Okay, and then once again 18-inch surges into the rear of the Rhinosaurs. Okay, and then this one is just a counter charge, right? I think so what I did was I counter charged my greater air into Firebrand, as well as the Earth Elementals into this, so that when I kill Firebrand, and then I can overrun into the Corsairs. I think that was my plan. Okay, and I don't know why I didn't. Oh, I think I killed it and then I sidestepped. So I killed Firebrand, overran into Corsairs, so I had to center on it, and I very luckily took it off. Okay, so I slid sideways. Okay, and even if I didn't kill it, I think my Earth Elementals can overrun and try a second time to kill the Corsairs. Yeah, I think that's how it works, right? Okay, so double charge on the Rakawas over here, one from the flank, but didn't do as much damage as I hoped because Elementals, they all hit on 4s. Carries just shot down the Scorch Wings over here. Okay, and then the Unicorn charged into the Phoenix and disordered it, right? So everything, so this is how it looks like. Wow, and I healed, my druid healed the greater air. Okay, some. So it surged one and healed the other. So there's a lot of value because you're paying 160 points, but you have one caster with 2 very strong spells that he can cast every turn. So it's like you're getting quite a lot of value out of it. Okay, heal 4 is pretty strong, right? So then he charged. So there's a bit of forest here, so he got hindered. But nonetheless, it was still terrible rolls. From 1, it became 4. So he dealt only 3 damage. Okay, so that was pretty sad. Okay. So nonetheless, this is how it ended, and I charged. So I double charged the Phoenix, dealt 11 wounds, but probably rolled pretty low on the nerf. And then for the Tyrants, I triple charged it along with the Unicorn over here, killed it off. And for the Rakawas, it already took 6 wounds previously, and I charged it again, and this time I wavered it. So with that, I think at this point my opponent conceded because it's just pretty much left with a Corsair. Right, this one shot and killed it off. Carries 2 kills to his name. Okay, so learning points. So greater air elementals lists, they like to counterpunch, which is what I do. So I make my opponent crash into my anvils, which is my earth elementals and my hunters of the wild, and then I move and search into flank and rears. Okay, so it has strong healing too if you don't take out a unit, because the Glade Walker Druid has heal 4, and he has a special rule that he basically has elite on his spells if he's near 6 inch of elementals, within 6 inch of elementals. And some players you face, they might take the formation air elemental, 2 hordes and 1 greater. They all get regen 5+. Okay, so regen plus the Glade Walker heal can take off a lot of wounds. Okay, so with that, before we proceed to the second video, I'll just do a quick shout out video to my local game store. If you're from the Asia Pacific region, do consider checking out Hammer House website for your hobby needs. They carry a wide range of miniatures and hobby supplies, including Mantic, Vallejo, Scale 75, and Green Stuff World products. Alright, so next up, this is another list that I've built to fight against another opponent. So this time I'm trying the formation. Okay, so what is nice about the formation is the regen, and of course brutal aura is always nice on the greater air, and of course it's an aura that affects all air and water units. Okay, of course I don't have any water elementals, but the other greater air that's not in formation and the air elemental hordes, they get brutal aura. Okay, and the thing about auras, a lot of formations give auras, and on paper we will always think that the aura is everywhere, but on practically on the table it is only on one part of the board. So you don't take the benefits of aura with a pinch of salt, in that, you know, you can't expect the formation this unit to be everywhere, spreading its aura to everywhere all at once. Okay, you'll only be affecting either the center, the middle, or the right. But on paper, when we build the list, we always think, oh, all my units will get brutal. Okay, same goes for rally. So quite a few formations give rally as well. So no, it only affects one part of the board. Okay, so let's see what I have to give up. So I have to dial back on my earth elementals as well as the fire elementals to make way for the 2 greater airs to fit into the list. And of course, I think that Scorch Wings are still very great in the list, provide that shooting threat and all the fancy stuff. And I think because of the double air hordes and the earth hordes, I have enough unlocked for everything. I downgraded the forest shamblers, the hunters of the wild, to forest shamblers. I think mainly because to have more synergy, because the Forest Shambler has the elemental keywords, which synergizes with the Glade Walker Druid. Okay, and they are a tad bit faster, speed 6 instead of speed 5 Scout. Okay, carries still awesome, still there. And so 11 units, so 1 unit less, right? And then slightly less unit strength as well, because the elemental regiments are unit strength too. So when you take a lot of them, you tend to have a good unit strength. So I didn't take them, as many of them, that is. Okay, so I'm fighting against a herd army, which also has Scorch Wings. 3 hordes, in fact. Okay, Spirit Walker horde, Harpies, Lycans. So very fast army. Forest Shambler regiment. Double Beast of Nature. Druid with Bane Heal, Bane Chan Heal, Mounted Conjurer Staff. Centaur Chief with Gnome Glass Shield. Speed 8, so it's a Centaur, so it's Speed 8. I was wondering where this mount itself is the mount. Alright, so with a short bow. Okay, so here's our deployment with the deployment order. So we're playing Pillage again, so I won sides. Scout, I scouted first, but we just won Shambler each. I won initiative and went first. You know, with this Scotch Wing off, right? It's good to go first and get the first shots in. Okay, so if you want to know what units what, you can pause it here to check out the names. But if not, we'll just explain it as we go along. Okay, so I poked my air elemental into the forest with a little bit of the obstacles sticking out. So although he's hurt, not all of them have Strider. I think maybe none of them have Strider. So I'm peeking the forest so that I can have line of sight. I have a little bit of the wall sticking out so that at least if even if we double charge, at least one of the units are hindered. Okay, and let's see. The one with the Brutal Aura is the middle one, right? So that I can affect, depending on where is needed, I can go both ways. Okay, so yep. Scorchwing shot at this unit. I think they're Lycans. Yeah, Lycans. So, but then Lycans are speed 9, so if I can shoot at them, means they can charge at me. Okay, so just hoping that I am able to hold. Alright, so this one shot at the Beast of Nature, trying to screen myself from all this stuff here. And I think this left side is playing more defensive, while I'm trying to go for these 3 tokens on the right side. Okay, so let's see what my opponent did. Let's start with the left side. Okay, Beast of Nature with that scary flank trap. Okay, Scorch Wings shot at the air elementals. Took 4 wounds because they are defense 4, but hey, they got regen. These are the formation ones. Spirit Walkers step into the forest, being threatening to everything over here because they threat up to 15 with 12 and Wild Charge D3. Okay, I can't remember which is this is the Druid, so the other side is the Centaur Chief. So that means no Bane Chan here. So this wounding on 3s for the Scorch Wings. So 12 hits 3, so that should be 8, right? So, but that's fine. Okay, so another thing I forgot to mention is that one of my Scorch Wings have Fire Oil, which works against the Lycans, which is exactly what happened here. See, Fire Oil. So that's why I dealt so much wounds to the Lycans. My opponent did not notice that my Scorch Wings had Fire Oil on it as he deployed. So the moment he dropped his Lycans here, I dropped the Fire Oil Scorch Wings there. Okay, so let's see what happens. So over here, the Scorch Wings moved up and started shooting. I think at the greater air, but you know, cover. Right, and then what's quite interesting is what's happening over here. So the Shamblers charge into the air elementals, and then the Harpies screen over here, the Lycans here, and then the Centaur placed here. So what he actually did was to make sure that my greater air has no space to land in this region with the Centaur and the Harpies blocking. I think I should be able to fly and flank the rear charge the Forest Shamblers, but hey, it's just a regiment of Forest Shambler, right? They're like thick chaff. Okay, so it's trying to protect the Lycan. Okay, so this is one of the methods to fight against Greater Air Elemental, is to deny his 10-inch. 10-inch is not a lot, right? So if you deny a space for him to land, then he can't surge into flanks effectively. Okay, so that is one of the tactics against me. Okay, so unfortunately, I think he was hoping to kill this unit, but he did not, and he did not even waver. So that is pretty sad news. But then again, he took 9. He regenerated some. He's on 5, which is still very vulnerable to getting taken off, especially with Greater Air even in the front. Okay, so next, yeah. So what happened instead was like, by now I was quite familiar with the Scorch Wings profile. So 14 attacks, hitting on 3 is like 9 to 10 hits, and then if I disorder it, he has no crushing, right? And his druid is all the way over here, the Bane Chant source. Okay, so I made my calculations and I feel that, hey, Greater Air, I think it's dash 18, with that 9 hits and half of them wounding is quite far away from routing the Greater Air Elemental on average die. So what I did was I charged 1 into each of them. And I knew that if I spike, I even have a chance to waver because I have 6 hits, right? So it's 6.6 hits, so that should be 5 to 6 wounds. Yeah, and they have brutal aura, so if with that bumping to 7, it's just a 7 to waver. And true enough, out of the 2 charges, I spiked a little bit on one of them and wavered it. Okay, and I know that what's best, this is the injured one, so what's best is that he's not able to deal much damage back to me. Okay. Over here on the right side, Karis shot and killed the Harpies. Okay. Staying out of line of sight of the Centaur Chieftain, okay, was my goal. So I was like this. Okay, so my line of sight was like this, while the Centaur Chief can't really see me past the Air Elemental. Okay. Yep, and Scorch Wings expectedly with Fire Oil, so crushing 1, killed off the Lycans. Okay, and but this side did not kill the Forest Shamblers, right? Okay, so what happened over here? I forgot to mention. So the the Beast of Nature charged to pin down the Scorch Wings. Didn't think that was a great idea though, but hey, the Spirit Walkers are here, right? So he wants to get into blending. Okay, so I double charged in return with the Scorch Wings and Air Elementals, and this is in the flank, I think. All right, so triple charge. I think quadruple charge with the Unicorn as well. Quadruple charge, and then I screen the Unicorn, and I try my best to screen the Scorch Wings from being charged with these 3 units, right? But I think there's still a landing zone for the Beast of Nature here. I really tried my best, but that's it. Okay, so over here, punch back. I think, did he flop? I wonder, did he flop the damage roll? Or maybe we haven't added it. Yeah, I did not. He did deal damage, right? Yeah, sorry. So next, bottom of 2 is his turn. Bane Chant into Air Elementals, but still did not kill the Air Elementals, which was sad. Yeah, 9 hits, 8 wounds is thereabouts, right? Okay. So still need high rolls. If you just charge it alone, for that 14 attacks hitting on 3s is the limiting factor, even if you're wounding on 2s. Okay, Beast of Nature managed to charge into the gap and killed it. Okay, and then he used the Druid to sort of do some space blocking while he charged the Spirit Walkers into the Forest Shamblers and back out. So I think this is to stay on the token, and in case things don't die, things are still in the front arc. Okay, over here he punched back for 4 damage. This one can't do anything. This one just punched back for a few damage, and the Scorch Wings finally got wavered this time by the Centaur Chief. So in my return, let's see over on the left, flank search. So the Beast of Nature is in the front arc. This would be a front charge, but what I did was I tilted it and moved forward and searched, and I got in. So it was a flank search, and I wavered the Beast of Nature. Over here, double charge the Scorch Wings, but did pretty poorly. Okay, and over here, so things are about to die to Spirit Walkers over here. Okay, so over here, I punched the Scorch Wings again. So this one, the second punch killed it, rolling high on both turns. This one rolling low on both turns, but still I got the waiver. Okay, this side killed off the Forest Shamblers. So I am facing the Centaur Chief, which is the lone guy over here. Even if he killed the Scorch Wings, I don't think he can grind through the Forest Shamblers. Sorry, he can't grind through the earth, air elementals, especially when they have regen. And I think my Scorch Wings couldn't back out of engagement, so I couldn't shoot carries into it. Okay, so bottom of 3, Scorch Wings on the left, countercharged and wavered. Okay, Beast just turned to face, but the Spirit Walkers got a flank on the earth elementals, so that's sad news, right? And then over here, this unit is wavered, so can't do anything. And killed off the Scorch Wings over here. So here's a key, right? This and this is not that far away. Okay, so what I did, and I'm not sure if this was even in range. No, this was definitely not in range because it moved here already. Okay, so I rear searched into the Spirit Walkers from this air elemental over here. Okay, so with that, I killed off the Spirit Walker Horde. This unit killed off the Scorch Wings, and I lightning bolted the Beast. He was already 10 wounds from the Earth Elementals, so took 1 from the lightning bolt and got wavered again. So bad news, almost everything is taken out at this point. So opponent conceded here, okay, because there's only a druid, wavered beast, this is dead, and a centaur. That's it. Okay. So some learning points here. So greater air elementals, 10 attacks for that 180 points is also very strong, even if you charge it from the front. Okay, so you want to block landing zones of greater air elementals. Okay, like how my opponent managed to do so. Okay, defense 6 elements of my list is quite vulnerable to shooting. So especially if I'm running both Scorch Wings and the air hordes, that's a lot of defense 4, and the greater air, they are defense 4 too. Okay, so yep, Druid has heal, like I mentioned earlier. Okay, so third game. So third game, I requested for a game against what I think greater air elementals are weak against, which is a double layered list, because you can't jump behind them or around the flanks that easily. Okay, especially when their first layer is not important. So even if you surge into and kill their first layer, right, on their front forces, their screening forces, is not a big deal. Okay, and that prime example of that are Goblins. So that's a matchup that I requested, and I already sensed that it was not a good matchup. Okay, I still took the formation because, hey, Brutal is great, regeneration is great if the opponent doesn't pack enough to finish my units off. Okay, and then I think the rest of the list quite similar. Okay, this is 2,300 points, so I have 3 greater air elementals, 2 normal and 1 in the formation, 13 units, 22 unit strength, so quite elite in the number of drops. Okay, so my opponent, 2 hordes, 2 regiments of rebel, 1 horde of Luggets. Okay, is the special version. You can only bring 1 horde of Luggets, and because they are this living legend version. 2 Mincer Mob Chariots, 1 regiment with Sharpness, 1 troop with Skirmisher Boots, triple trombone, double wing it, doubles Goblin Slasher with Trumpets, Groany Snark, flag it with Bane Chant, bang it with Inspiring, and King on Chariot. Okay, pillage again. Wow. So I placed first token, he won the sides. I won the init and chose to go first. So my opponent has very little shooting that's more than 12 inches. So I might want to choose to go second, but I chose to go first. And so this is how it goes. Anyway, these are the units in case you're wondering which is which. And one important element of this game is that I forgot that this is Luggets. Alright, because I'm so used to seeing Goblin hordes, they are just rebel. Okay, so I pushed stuff up. Scorch Wings shot down the what do you call this? Scorch Wings shot down a regiment of rebels from the start. This unit can't really see much. Maybe it could have not. I don't think I wanted to shoot the Goblin King because he would be able to charge me, or maybe I did and I missed. Can't remember right now. Okay, so my opponent shuffled upwards. Of course, I moved everything out of trumpet range or trombone range. Okay, a Groany Snark charged into the Scorch Wings, spiked his rolls, and dealt 7 damage and spiked his nerf rolls to kill it. Okay, so wowie. Okay, yep, if not, everything shuffled up. So the worst thing about this is I think this was about 10 inches away from Groany. About 10. Okay. But Luggets has wild charge D3. So it minimally charges 11, which is what I failed to realize, right? So I just charged the Groany thinking that this rebel can't charge me in return. But actually this was within 11. So he didn't even need to roll the wild charge amount. Okay, so I tried my best to move up screen. Okay, all the greater airs are in cover. Okay, behind this, right, the air hordes behind the building, so I can jump over and search into stuff. Trying not to take much shots. Okay, this one in cover. Okay, almost everything is in cover except this forest shambler, right? And of course, this Scorch Wings, they're on the other side of the building, so it's not that afraid of getting shot. There's only a few shots from here, and I wavered the Goblin King on Chariot with these 2 shooting elements, Lightning Bolt and Scorch Wings. Okay, so what he did in return. So first, greater air down, my mistake. Okay, I must admit, my mistake. The Luggets charged it and died. Okay. Groany decided to charge these air elementals with Slasher, hoping to take it out. Did do a respectable 9 damage, but thankfully they held. These are the Mincer Mob blenders, so it's pretty dangerous over here. Rebel charged in. 4 trombones shot at the greater air and killed it. Okay, over here the rebel charged in and dealt 1 damage to this greater air. I think I was too impatient because I knew that things are about to die here, so I was very impatient. I need to get this cleared ASAP, so I poked the greater air into the forest to force him to do something, because if I don't, the earth elemental is still not in charge range. Okay, and he could back up over another 2 turns. Right, by the time my greater air reach here, he might be out of charge range again. Okay, so I poked my greater air in, so he charged his rebel in. Okay, setting up the chariot mob for later. Okay, so not great. So top of 3. This side just punched back as best I could. Earth elementals punched back as best I could. I tried to take out the trombones, right? So air horde took out 1, unicorn took out the other. Scorch Wings flew up, shot down the king. Greater this double charged. Okay, so I double charged this rebel, took it off, and then backed up the greater air and sidestepped the earth elemental. So his Mincer Mob has to charge the earth elemental. Okay, I have no inspiring here because the unicorn went this way. Okay. So on his return, this unit further backed up. Okay. Can't remember why. Further backed up. Is this in the front? I think it's in the front, but now my druid is too far away to search into the flanks, right? Okay, so over here, as expected, Luggage will take out this unit. Now only my Earth Elemental is holding. The Rebel is also holding because of Goblins, right? So they don't do much damage. Okay, and yeah, things shuffling around here. This side is slowly collapsing in on me, the left side. Okay, so I charged. Okay, so Greater Air in the front is not fantastic against the Chariot. So I charged the Earth Elementals in and I positioned this for a flank. Okay, Scorch Wings continue to kill Trombones. Okay, but slowly and surely this strong force is coming in. So my only hope of delaying this side at least is the Earth Elementals. So I do as much as I can to keep the Earth Elementals alive. So I charge the Unicorn into the Mincer Mob, and I might not have dealt damage because I don't see a damage marking here. Yep, I did not do damage. That's why it charged through my Unicorn onto the Scorch Wings. Okay, over here double charge, though hindered for the Luggets, but the enchant. Okay, this side still Eternal Struggle, and in one charge he rode high, spiked high, killed off the Earth Elementals and turned to face my Greater Air. And I think I rode poorly and did not do a single damage here as well. So his Thunderous is intact, wounding on 2s, wounding on 4s rather. And so I'm like, oh dear. Okay, and at this point I called the game because no point continuing because I'm already losing very badly. He still has tons of units over here in the center. Okay, you might notice that we concede the game quite often because I'm playing most of this game by email. So you know the games take very long because we keep passing the game back and forth to each other. So when we feel that the game is over, it's very common for us to concede so that we don't have to keep continuing the game over a few more days. Okay, yeah. So if you are wondering how to play by email, there's a mode that you can play, and you don't even need to use email. It's just a name, a term. Okay, you can check out my video. I'm going to link it up there. Tutorial on Universal Battle and playing by email. Okay, so learning points here. So Greater Earth Elementals are not as effective into layered armies. Armies with more than one layer, and the front is a screen. Okay, Cheap Chaff is fine because I could shoot off with Scorch Wings, or if they charge into my anvils, I could use my Earth Elementals to kill them off without exposing my Greater Air. But with Goblin Rebel Hordes, it's a different ball game. Scarecrows would be another one. Okay, so very vulnerable to shooting this army because a lot of defense fall in terms of the air elementals. Okay, so yeah, you can see that a lot of my units just died to shooting. So with that, this is the fourth game, and the tables have turned. This time I'm playing the Goblins, and I'm fighting a Greater Air Elemental list. Well, sort of, because it's sort of like a hybrid list. So let's go through my Goblin list. 6 Hordes of Rebel. Okay, so with that I have 6 unlocks in each category. So in terms of war engines, 2 Trombones, 2 Bomb Pop Launchers, and 2 Sharpstick Throwers. Sharpstick Throwers have gone down from 75 to 60 points, so I find them pretty attractive with that low point cost. Okay, in terms of the monsters, only 4 monsters, 1 Mincer monster, 2 Wingits, and 1 Slasher. In terms of the hero, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 heroes. Okay, Crony Snark with Headstrong Aura, Bangit, 2 Wizards, 1 with Alchemist Curse, 1 with Conjure Staff, Magua and Juice, and a King on Chariot with Talk of Dissonance. So this is an item. During the range phase, I don't need to cast it. I just automatically choose 1 unit within 12 inch and choose a spell, and he cannot cast it for the next turn. Okay, so this seems like a good counter to the Surge of the Greater Gladewalker Druid, because you disable him from casting Surge twice, right? So this is my opponent list. It is a Greater Air Elemental list, mixed hybrid with lots of Forest Shamblers, 3 folk basically. Okay, Hunters of the Wild, 2 troops, 2 regiments. Shamblers, 2 hordes, 1 regiment, and 1 had Mead of Madness, which I did not realize. So my opponent was very gracious when he said, hey, do you not realize the Mead of Madness? I could have charged on top of 1. Okay, which I'll get to later. Scorch Wings, 2 regiments, a good screening unit, 120 points, can shoot. Okay, Greater Air Elementals, 2. Okay, the Glade Walker Druid package is still there. Alright, and carries without Surge. Okay, Kapoka. So Kapoka is the tree folk. It benefits Verdant. They all get Phalanx. And Tree Herder upgraded to Wildfather. So because he has Wildfather as the backup Surge caster, so he didn't need to take Surge on carries, which was pretty costly at 30 points. Okay, so deployment. We are playing Invade. And so my opponent layered very heavily on the right, so I responded in kind. So he threw carries and 1 Scorchwing regiment over on the extreme left, and actually I decided to ignore it. I'm like, this is Invade, that gets across, 2 unit strength, whatever. Okay, if he's gonna do a flank maneuver on me, I have 3 hordes of rebel here for him to slowly chew through, even the 4th one here. Okay, so in fact I found running 6 rebel, right? Like, I have no place to put them, so my final one I put them behind. Okay, because I felt that there wasn't any point putting it here, so I put it behind to layer as a second layer force, because I do expect this to do some shenanigans on me. Okay, so stick throwers are deployed this way so that it actually has a good clear view on quite a lot of stuff. Usually when you deploy them behind here, they're shooting over stuff and they get cover. But I decided that, hey, this is a good spot. And so my mistake was that Grony Snark was on the line, so it could be charged. Okay, so I don't mind my Rebel being charged. I don't mind my Sharpstick Throwers being charged, but not Grony. Okay, and in fact the Sharpsticks were deployed a little bit at angle in a V shape, so none of his hordes and regiments can fit into this space because of if they charge this stick thrower, there's an angle on the other stick thrower, and then there's a wall here, so they can't fit the whole regiment in. And then of course the second one is even harder to get into. Okay, and oops, not sure why that is lingering. Okay, there we go. Alright, so if not, let's get started. He scouted upwards, tried quite a lot of tree folks, so they all went up. And these are the names of the units, in case you're wondering. The Wild Charge one is over here. Okay, so the Wild Charge Shamblers are able to charge turn 1, top of 1, into this unit. Woodfather moved up and spread some love around with Cloak of Death. So 1, 2, 3 units taking Cloak of Death damage. Okay, good news is I think this is my Alchemist. No, my Alchemist Curse Wizard is this one, I think. Let's rewind. This is Conjuring Staff. So yep, this one is Alchemist Curse, but it's still within 12 inches of Woodfather. And Woodfather is height 5, so all this height 2 stuff, this is height 3, but I think I could get here and cast at height 2. Okay, get here past the Shamblers and cast without cover at Alchemist Curse. So I'm like, wow, Woodfather is very difficult to deal with. I'm behind the screen. I think I can keep casting Alchemist Curse until he's dead, especially when I cast it from the bottom of 1. Okay, Kapoka is weakness, so he casts weakness on this unit of Rebel because he's expecting it to flank charge here. Okay, so let's see what I do in return. So instead, I don't flank charge that unit, because what I do is I move up quite a bit so that my King on Chariot can flank charge. 7 attacks, crushing 2 effectively with CS1 Thunderous 1. Phalanx only works in the front, and moreover, Kapoka is still quite far back. I think that is Kapoka. Let me just rewind. Oh no, Kapoka is over here somewhere. Yeah, Kapoka is this one, and then the Druid is this one. Okay, so there's 2 units over there, or vice versa, whichever it is. Okay, nonetheless, no phalanx over here, so the rebels still have some space to slide and hit these in the front. Okay, yep, so I thought I had a decent chance of killing it, but nonetheless, nope. Okay, wizard moved here. There, alchemist curse, wizard moved here and cast without cover. Okay, so I threw quite a lot of shots here. Okay, I think that would be double pub launchers, wing it. The wizard over here, double sharpstick throwers, and I tagged it with elite from my war engines. Okay, from the wing it. Okay, and then Grony moved up and he still has bow shot, so with that took out that. Okay, over here, trombones. I'm not sure what trombone shot at. Okay, maybe they didn't shoot at anything. I wonder why. Okay, so the thing about Hunters of the Wild, which are these things with the V heads over here, they are height 2. So my rebel is height 2, so the trombones can't see them. So I think that's why I swung towards this side, because I'm very worried of the Wildfather basically. Okay, I'm not too worried about the greater air, because okay, it can't land and charge into any flanks. Okay, it can only charge into rebel. Okay, it can't fly over as well. They can't march, right, because they're shambling. Okay, so this slasher shot at this unit, Hunters of the Wild troops, pretty low nerf, 10, 12 I think, and then they are defense 5 and they're in the forest, but nonetheless I dealt enough to waver it. Yeah, Magua and Juice got up on the hill, and Lightning Bolt is 24 inches, so I think it shot at this. Okay, and looks like I have some extra shots that went here. Maybe I shot at this. Okay, I gave myself the option to shoot at the Shamblers, but they took a lot of damage, so I shot at the Scorch Wings instead, because Scorch Wings, you know, if I roll lucky, I might waver them as well. Okay, so in response, let's see. Over on the left, sorry, on the right side, I think he double charged Wildfather and the Shamblers again, this time killing the Horde, which is fine. He backstepped the Wildfather, and this unit, because of the tight squeeze here, could he have turned? I think he could have turned, but decided to stay there, I guess. So double charge over here on this Horde, but failed to kill, and triple charge here on this Horde and killed it. Scorch Wings dealt some damage over here. This other unit of Scorch Wings flew over. Okay, couple carries over here keep shooting at this unit throughout the game. Okay, which I'm fine with, right? You can slowly grind through that unit. Okay, so with that I had 2 greater airs to deal with, because this side is broken in 2. So I was like, no problem, Magua and Juice, he's an individual, he's gonna charge one of them, pin it down, and I'm gonna shoot down the other. I do have a lot of shooting over here. Okay, so we decided that both the greater airs were on the hill, so I charged this, and because he's on the hill, he's like height 8, so a lot of things can shoot at it without cover. Okay, so even if this one was off the hill, because it's a curve of the hill, right? So even if this one was off, this one was most likely on, then I could shoot at this without cover, and then Magua could charge into this, because this would be height 5, height 8, also no cover. Okay, and Magua is an individual, so no cover. Line of sight not blocked. Okay, so what I do here, I just dance this unit across. So basically, I'm trying to get this unit across the center line because it's invade. At the same time, I want to protect these units over here, so I turn to threaten flank charges. Okay, the back unit of Rebel try to screen the back of this unit, so that it doesn't get rear charged. Okay, but I'm also offering my rear to it instead. Okay, so true enough, Magua shot charged into this air elemental and grounded it, while the rest of my shooting killed off this air elemental. So I think the rest of my shooting is trombone, king on chariot, wing it. Okay, I think sharpstick can see it as well. Yep, sharpsticks can see it as well. Okay, so over here, the mincer charged it in the rear flank again, because this was already wounded, so had a good chance of killing it off, and true enough I did. My caster, so my alchemist curse caster hit behind the war engine and shot at this. Okay, Grony moved around and started shooting at stuff, and this wizard moved here. Okay, so the reason why my king on chariot moved in this direction also was I was within 12 of the druid, and I managed to do the talk, no search. But on hindsight, I didn't need to. I was just afraid that I couldn't kill the greater heir. But one is dead and one is disordered, so I don't think I needed that. Maybe I should have said no heal instead. Okay, so let's see. In his response, rear charge into this rebel, not dead. Okay, triple charge into this horde and killed it because this one went for a flank this way. Okay, if he charged the Magua is an individual, so no flank benefits. So I decided to charge into the rebel. Okay, so what else? Over here, just a counter charge. My slasher went into this unit, right? And then so that this rebel would hopefully survive. So now he can't flank the rebel. Okay, so he punched back at the slasher. And at this point, the Woodfather charged at the unit that would maximize getting into the back of my lines. He charged into one of the war engines, right? So now he is looking at the rear of so many things. Okay, but a lot of them are just 100 points or around 100 points or less. None of them are really very expensive other than the slasher. So I wasn't really worried as long as he's not healing his tree herder, his Woodfather. I'm able to take it out eventually. But actually he did heal from 8 to 6, so his heal went off. Okay, so let's see what's next. So I turned most of my shooting around and killed the Woodfather. Okay, and let's see over here. So sharp 6 shot wavered this unit, rebel charge wavered this unit, slasher punched second time and killed this unit. Okay, greater air elemental got charged, counter charged by Magua, and Grony charged into it. Probably spiked that. Grony averages 5 hits and probably 5 or 4 wounds because it is crushing 3 on the charge. Yep, so I must have spiked a little bit. And Magua is 7 attacks, healing on 3s, crushing 2 vicious. So can't remember if he has brutal too. Brutal as well. But nonetheless, took it out. So things are going pretty well for me. He's down to 3 units in fact. The 4th one is wavered. Okay, so definitely gonna go down pretty soon from all my shooting. Okay, and yep, my rebel countercharged and dealt 2 damage to the Scorch Wings. Okay, so in his response, let's see, he killed the rebel from a rear charge and a front charge. This one charged Magua and wavered it, and yep, but then there's a rear from the rebel, right? And so my wavered, but I have headstrong aura from Grony. So my turn, Magua passed headstrong. It charged into this unit instead because I think this was one of the only ones that has access, is able to touch this unit, because I think this is out of 10, this is blocked, so on and so forth. So I charged various things in, and as you can expect, I killed off the 2 units here. This is wavered, this is not wavered, but not in a great place. At most you will wound or kill the slasher, which I don't really care because it's gonna die to shooting. At this point of the game, a lot of things will just die to shooting. Okay, so top of 5, I think I missed the screenshot, but the bottom of 5 managed to clear off most things away. So with that, learning points. And wow, this opponent's list is pretty interesting. It's a hybrid of Greater Air with Tree Folk basically, and the Tree Folk help solve the problem of the Greater Airs being vulnerable to shooting by, you know, coming into the opponent hard and fast to hopefully disrupt their shooting plans. But hey, despite that, I still had a lot of choice targets to shoot at. I still managed to shoot quite well and kill a lot of things with shooting. So at least against this list, it did not matter as much because I do have the Rebel Horde screen. Against maybe elves, if you can, come in close to their Glade Walkers fast, not Glade Walker, Glade Stalkers fast, then that might pose some trouble to them. Okay, so learning points: control the greater air elementals. Don't let them surge into flanks. Okay, force them to charge in front and then take them down. Okay, Goblins. My list at least struggle against defense 6 in terms of the Wildfather. Luckily, he only has one Wildfather. I cannot imagine if he has a Wildfather and a Tree Herder, for example, and then the Tree Herder has Radiance, right? And then he gets healed by Druids as well. Yeah, and or even maybe some Earth Elementals in the mix, then I might have a lot of trouble. So my biggest tool against it is Alchemist Curse, and being able to Alchemist Curse the Tree Herder or the Wildfather 3 times in a row really does help. Okay, Mincer 3 or 4 turns in a row, right? Okay, another tool that Goblins have is the Mincer Regiment with Sharpness. That is 21 plus d6 attacks, hitting on trees, crushing 2, brutal. So we don't want to get hit by that. You don't want to be hit by that. Your defense 6 units. Okay. So I have the Trash Wall, my Rebel. The opponent needs to have a answer for that, but he doesn't. So he just keep crashing into the Rebel, and then I just have my choice of what to shoot, what to delay, what to shoot, what to delay, and eventually grinding it out. Okay, so Scarecrows, Night Stalker Scarecrows would be another trash wall. Okay, Undead can have the zombie walls, and Draugr for the Varangur. Okay, so I drew some diagrams for us to analyze this. So suppose you're the greater air elemental player, right? So in order to search into the flank, okay, and you are standing behind a screen, right? So now I can move 10 inches here and get searched into the rebel's flank. Okay, you have to be quite near the enemy, right? You see that my earth elementals are only 7.5 inches from the rebel in order to set this up, and then the opponent can start to choose to charge things already, charge at least the earth elementals. But more importantly, if this is 7.5 inches, this distance is very close. The trombone shoots 12 and move 5. They have 17-inch charge range. So if I count the squares here, each square is 1 inch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. About 14 inches away only. So I'm definitely comfortably able to move up and triple trombone this air elemental. Okay, and if the air elemental screen is thicker, like this horde, or even the hunters of the wild regiments is thicker, then the distance is even further. So in order to still search into the flank of the rebel, I'm roughly only 6 inches away from the rebel. Okay, my screen versus his screen rather. Okay, and even if my lines clash, I could barely make it to flank search into the opponent, or rear search into the opponent rather, because although I move 10 inches, but my rear need to clear, and I'm about 2 inches deep, right? So this is just barely able to clear the 2 units. Of course, if my screening unit is a regiment, this guy can be much closer. Okay, and even if this is an infantry regiment, it's still just as deep, right? And 80 and 80 is pretty common, right? Because large infantry and infantry both are 80 mils deep. If you're fighting against cavalry, then they're a bit deeper with 100 milliliters. So rear surges are less common, flank surges are more. And if you can see here, if the opponent just has a little bit of stuff here, right, then it blocks the landing. Okay, even if it's through 2 trombones or even a chaff unit just here to block him from landing. Okay, so these are the strategies to deal with what the shenanigans that the greater air elementals can pull off. But one of the most common things that will happen is like my first game, okay, where I'm gonna rewind all the way. This happened, right? You kill off my anvil screen. I'm gonna flank search twice into 2 of your units and kill it. Okay, so that's where the most powerful trait happens. Okay, with that, I'll have some closing thoughts and conclusion on the Greater Air Elemental list. Okay, they are very good into certain matchups. In fact, they are so good into the matchups that they are bullying these matchups. Okay, and very good against the generic list of, if your list has some chaff, some hammers, and a bit of sprinkling or no shooting at all. Okay, it's very good against that because your chaff can't deal with the anvils. You have to send your hammers in to deal with his high defense screen, and then he's just gonna eat you up with his Greater Air Elementals. Unfortunately, in Kings of War or in the meta, most lists falls into this category. Okay, a lot of lists are generically like this. Okay, your flavor of chaff, hammers, and support units. Okay, so which makes the Greater Air Elemental list very strong into these lists, quite a wide field. Okay, and if that's your list, right, then here are some tools to deal with it. Okay, if you have more drops, then you are able to put footprints units behind your units. Okay, so there's a game that I played in a physical game with my Abyss army where I charged my hammers in and I put my chaff behind my hammers, but the chaff blocked the air elementals from landing. That was the key. Okay. So hex might help if you can hex the Gladewalker Druid, and if he has no alternative search caster. He might have, and maybe that search caster is off to one flank, because I wouldn't put, because the Druid is also inspiring, and if you bring Carius, it's also inspiring. If you take Woodfather, Tree Herder, they're also inspiring. So they're often on different parts of the board. Okay, so if you manage to hex the Gladewalker Druid, he's relying on that one alternative search caster if he has, and then that caster can only search once, right? Whereas the Gladewalker Druid can search both Greater Air or Greater Air Elementals, two of them, right? But if you have hex, then what they would do is to hide behind the Greater Air Elementals, because that's speed height 5, so it's also very hard for you to get the hex in. However, Talk, if I'm not wrong, doesn't require line of sight. So as long as you get within 12 inch of the Gladewalker Druid, you can say don't cast Search next turn. Okay, so Talk of Dissonance, there's a new item, 10-point item. Of course, you have to put it on a speedy or maneuverable unit so that you have the chance of getting within 12 inches of the Gladewalker Druid. Okay, so if you have more shooting, you might threaten, because he needs to slowly move up and get you to charge his screen. And so if you have shooting, you can stay back and start shooting. And of course, he does have heal in his Gladewalker Druid, so you have to outshoot his healing capabilities. If you are able to threaten the Gladewalker Druid with some individual heroes that can hunt the Gladewalker Druid, that might help too. So these are some of the tools. Most commonly, because the rest of the tools can be quite specific, and your list is either because if you are building a list this way, it's very hard to just add a lot of shooting in. So one of the key things you can do is to add more drops. So with more chess pieces, you can use them behind your main force to deny landing zones. So that's one of the most common solutions to dealing with the Greater Air Elemental list. Okay, Forces of Nature also receive other strong buffs. Carry is this little 80-point hero with 8 attacks, 12-14 nerf. Okay, and he can buy search for 30 points. And on top of that, he can disorder you. So he can shoot at your caster. If it's a mirror match, he can shoot your Gladewalker Druid first. If not, he can search at your caster that has hex. He is not casting, right? His attack is actually a ranged attack. Okay, so so Carries itself is a great tool. Even not specific to any matchup, you'll find a lot of players bringing this. Scorch Wings received a buff as well, so they're really good. Very good all-rounder unit, and they are defense 4, mind you, not defense 3. But the Greater Elemental lists do have some bad matchups. Okay, so lists with strong shooting, such as Elves and my Goblins, that I've demonstrated earlier. Okay, Salamanders can do very shooty lists. Night Stalkers can have a triple lightning bolt with what's that guy, right? The Mind Screech. Horrors can take lightning bolt too, and Ogres with lightning bolts. The armies that generally have 2 waves, such as counterpunch armies, do well against greater air elementals as well. And trash walls, like what I said, the Draugr, Rebel. And so you see my goblins have 2 of the 3 elements that deals with greater air elementals very well. So yeah, greater air elementals suffer into that. Okay. And you might start to see hybrid greater air elemental lists, because the core of it, right, just this, the Great Walker package plus 2 greater air elementals is only 520 points. And then the rest of your list can be something else. And of course, Great Walker Druid synergizes more with elementals, and if your list is low on elementals, you might drop the Great Walker Druid entirely. You just take a normal Druid, baby Druid, right? Or carries that can take Surge, or you can take Wildfather, Tree Herder that comes with Surge. So there are so many options of Surge. Forest Warden, do they have Surge, or they can get the Surge item? You know, there are so many options to get Surge. So if your list, if you build a hybrid list that doesn't have a lot of elementals, you might not use the Great Walker Druid because it synergizes with elementals. Okay, and with that, is the greater air elemental broken? I don't think it's broken per se, but it's really too cheap still. 180 points for what it has is really so good. And in fact, the Empire of Dust Undead Worm got lowered to 180 points to match the greater air elemental, which I think is adding to the problem, right? If you have a unit that's too good, you should make it slightly worse, not to make other things also too good. Okay, and then these 2 armies have these few armies have access to these 2 good units. Okay, 10 attacks for 180 point monster. Right, if you look at other monsters for less than 200 points, you're not gonna get 10 attacks. Okay, on top of that, crushing 1 Thunderous 1, almost equivalent to crushing 2, right? Nerfs, I think if you drop the crushing, or you drop the Thunderous, just keep it at crushing 1 is a good step to solving the problem. Okay. Yep. So would I play this greater elemental list in 2023? I don't think so, because I've concluded that I won't play the greater elementals because firstly, there are bad matchups for the army. Okay, secondly, I do sense that there is a possibility of them getting nerfed. So then, since I have not built this army yet, I don't think I will. So with that, what's my next army? Okay, I want something opposite of my current elite or the Green Lady playstyle. Able to play shooting and feels like it will always be relevant in the meta, current and future. So with that being opposite of my elite playstyle is the trash playstyle, and so I will be delving into Goblins in 2023. So stay tuned for all my Goblin adventures in the upcoming year. Of course, I'm still building the army as we speak. I have 60 infantry assembled out of at least 120 or up to 180 or even 195 if I need to build the full trash list. So I think it'll be a slow slog as I build this army this year. So my first few games, in fact I have quite a few games of Goblins in my UB waiting to be made into battle reports, so stay tuned for all of that in the near future. So with that, I'd like to end things off. I'd like to shout out to my patrons. I have a 1 peep patron, Anonymous, 2 peep patron, Luke Schaefer, 3 peep patron, Guy Harper, and a new 4 peep patron, Alessandro Serpe. I think that's how you pronounce his name. If I got it wrong, just let me know. And thank you guys so much for supporting my content. It is a lot of effort, you know, making these content. Just making this video, although the runtime is an hour or less, is the time to build, to craft this video is at least half a day, because compiling the slides and doing the editing afterwards, even if it's minimal editing, everything comes together to half a day's worth of work. So do like the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the bell notifications, and leave a comment. What do you think of the greater elemental list? Have you been badly burned? Show me where the greater elemental touched you. So and do leave a review for my Newbie Dice podcast. I will be dropping a Goblin Army review podcast very soon, so check it out. You can I'll post it on my YouTube channel as well, Newbie Dice, But if you search it on your podcast podcast app, search for Newbie Dice Podcast. Okay, and if you'd like to support my work on Patreon, and my philosophy is I like to make content to help people improve in their games, because all of us we like to play more than we actually can. A lot of times we don't get to play, but we get to be able to listen or watch content on the times that we are not able to play. So with that, I focus on making content to help us play better, so that when we actually get the chance to play on the table, we will not be making silly mistakes, and we will be able to understand our battles better and enjoy our battles more. So that's the philosophy behind my channel. If you are behind this philosophy and you'd like to send me some support, that is the way to do it, Patreon. And with that is the end of our video. Hope you have gleaned some useful knowledge on how to deal with the greater air elementals, and whether it's broken or not. I still think it's too good. I do think it needs a nerf that will also hit the undead worm. The undead worm is a bigger Titan footprint, but he has crushing 3. I think that's the difference. And of course, the rest of the army is different as well, right? So the EOD side do have a better grinding capability, so that is their benefit as well. So with that, thank you very much. I'll see you in the next video.